The 2025 World Gymnastics Championships are underway in Jakarta, Indonesia, and men's podium training is completed. For those new here, I'm Kensley, the host of Neutral Deductions, a podcast all about men's gymnastics. This is episode 83, where I'll be sharing what we learned in podium training so far. So just as a clarification, I am not in Jakarta because I am due to give birth within probably the next month, and traveling there was just not an option. However, there are lots of media outlets putting out fantastic content, so I've been able to see a decent amount of what is actually happening there on the ground. So Gymcastic, Gymnastics Now, Inside Gymnastics have been posting several videos, as well as other federations. And then, of course, Scott Bregman over the Olympic Channel has done a fantastic job writing some storylines. We do actually have our very own photographer there at the World Championships for the very first time, which I'm super thrilled about. So keep an eye out on our page for those photos. Our photographer is Emily from Flipped Fly Tumble, who creates some incredible gymnastics content on YouTube and Instagram. And she is also a brevet judge. So make sure you reach out and follow her as well. Moving on to the main headlines. So Israel is not going to be competing. So in our preview episode, we sort of talked about some of the different options when they filed their petition with CAS. The first part of their petition was not actually successful. So Israel was not granted visas in time to compete in Jakarta. However, the result of this case is not over, so we need to be very clear about that. So while the championships are going to take place, it is still possible that these results could be nullified. It's possible that the Court of Arbitration of Sport will do nothing. It's possible that the FIG and the entire World Championships was completely in their right to deny these visas. That is still to be determined based on how the Court of Arbitration of Sport interprets the FIG rules. So this is something that we will keep you updated on. Now, how to watch World Championships. So Eurovision is going to be streaming qualifications, which I'm really excited about, because originally those on the ground were saying that there was not actually going to be a qualification stream. And if you've been following gymnastics for any amount of time, you do know that sometimes qualification is not shown, which really frustrates, I think, a lot of gym fans and me personally, because this is the time where you get to see every single athlete compete. And Worlds isn't just about those who make the finals. Like, there are incredible gymnasts who we get to see in qualifications, and that's the only time we get to see them. So that should be on Eurovision. And then if you are in the US, Peacock is the one who has the rights to the medal rounds. And then there's also the world feed, which you can use with a VPN should you choose. Moving on to the behind the scenes and some of the podium training insights we've been able to gather, Michael Reed of Jamaica had this really interesting behind the scenes video where he talked about all the different food that had been provided for breakfast. And it seems like the hosts are really trying to do a very good job providing food from different countries so that people feel really comfortable eating something that their stomach is used to. And honestly, this could have a really profound effect on people feeling at home and not having to adjust to different types of food. So I thought that was a really interesting and good option that I have never seen at a World Championships. And this has been 10 years of me covering World Championships. My first one was in Glasgow in 2015. The other unique insight that we got from this video is that the training gyms, or at least some of them, are on Podium. So one of the things that athletes often talk about is the difficulty and struggle from going from the back gym, which is often on the ground, to the podium, which is where they're competing, which is why podium training is often so critical, because the podium does add a different bounce to the equipment. And this is something that I think has been really positive overall for the athletes. And then the final behind the scenes that we were able to see was that Steve Butcher, who is a member of the men's technical committee, said that it is the best run meet he has ever been to. And this man used to work for the FIG. He has been to multiple Olympic Games as a judge, certainly multiple World Championships. Again, used to work full-time for the FIG, now is part of the men's technical committee for Trinidad and Tobago. So this is a person who has seen a lot. So for him to say that is something really profound, and I'm really interested to see how the rest of the competition plays out. Now, some overall takeaways about podium training. Floor looked hard for everyone. There were very few videos that we got of podium training where people looked comfortable on the floor. I would say the two exceptions, again, I am not there in person, so I'm looking at the videos that are being posted online. But of the videos that were posted, the only two people who I would say looked truly comfortable with the floor were Carlos Yulo and Harry Hepworth. Now, Harry ended up having kind of a little splat on the dismount, but honestly, I don't, like for podium training, I don't take that so much into account. Sometimes people are tired from the jet lag, or, they're still trying to get used to the bounce or whatnot. Carlos looked perfect on that event. He just looked like he could do floor there all day. And I have heard from several of the athletes who said that the floor was really difficult for them for a couple of reasons. One, having a white mat sometimes made it difficult to spot the difference between the light and the mat, and so that was a little bit of an adjustment. And then others have just said that the Taishan floor, just because it's new and it's different, it's been a little bit hard to adjust from. I did hear from one coach who said that they really, really liked the floor and their athletes did like the floor, so there definitely are opinions on both sides, but I would say the high majority said that this floor was pretty difficult to tumble on. Moving on to Japan, Hashimoto looked great here. He has had kind of a on and off year, again, injuries, some falls, some different things. He looks fantastic. And he said in an interview that he's feeling really, really good and nothing hurts for the first time in a while. So he's able to just focus on his gymnastics. I would say one of the most interesting things that I noted is that he has reworked his high bar routine. So at the University Games, he opened his high bar routine with a talk half to a Lucan. And what we saw in podium training was him doing a talk full to open and then a talk half connected to Coleman. And then the Lucan was standalone pretty late in the routine, honestly. Actually, the three guys doing high bar for Japan, I think all had Lucans, and they all had them kind of late in their routine, if I'm remembering correctly, which is kind of an interesting composition idea. So that's something that I am going to be looking forward to watching in qualifications. Now, in our preview, we talked about how the two favorites coming in were Hashimoto Daiki and Oka Shinosuke, like the battle of the previous two Olympic champions. Hashimoto said he is going to win. Oka said that he wants to stop Hashimoto's winning streak. So if Hashimoto wins this all-around title, he will outright own the second most consecutive all-around wins at a World Championships. That's huge. And so I was expecting Oka to come in looking really, really good. When I saw him in podium training, I was like, something is not right. He was just falling off events left and right. The floor looked like it was ejecting him. He had kind of a weird fall on pommel horse, very similar to what happened at University Games. And it later came out in an interview that he is sick and has been dealing with some illness since the 13th. He said he feels really heavy and he's had to brace himself to get into the right mindset. So that will be something interesting to follow for qualifications. Now, he should pretty easily go through to finals. There's only going to be two Japanese athletes actually going for the all-around. The person who currently owns the highest all-around score in the world right now, Kawakami Shohei, he's not even here. So it's just going to be Oka and Hashimoto. And even if Oka falls several times, like he should still pretty easily get through to the final. So hopefully he's able to feel his best so that the winner of the all-around final will be the person who is feeling their best, doing their best on that day. Minami Kazuki opted to remove the scale from his floor routine. So if you remember, athletes no longer have to do the scale. And so he is actually going for a double twist to prone. He looked okay on floor. His twisting form is, of course, beautiful. The landings were all over the place, and that's not necessarily an indicator of how things are going to go in the competition. Sometimes athletes just want to get a feel for the bounce. They don't want to really absorb those landings, so it's not necessarily a big deal there. I will say he looked fantastic on vault, so that's another place where we could potentially see him make a final. I didn't actually get videos of any of the other Japanese gymnasts. I don't have any updates on either Ishizawa Hiroto, who's going to be doing pommel horse, or Kaneta Kichi, who is there for still rings. I did see a little bit of Tsunagai Tomoharu on parallel bars, and he is a sneaky one. So parallel bars for the Japanese, is going to be very similar to floor for the British, where they have 3 incredible athletes going in, honestly on high bar too. And it's someone is going to be left out of that final who probably is a medal contender. And this is why I hate it many times, the 2 per country rule, because it very could well be that the top 3 in qualifications for, let's say, high bar could be Hashimoto, Oka, and Tsunogai, and one of them could be left out. Now, of course, you've got people like Tong Chao Hung, Brody Malone, and others, so that could not be the case, but it very well could be, just as it was at University Games, where I believe the top 4 athletes on parallel bars in qualification were all Japanese. And so that's another thing to look for, is which of those 3 athletes are actually going to make it to the final. Moving on to China, Jungbo Hung is definitely going for that all-around podium and even the win. He has actually not finished lower than second in any major all-around competition his entire senior career. So we have this whole time been talking about, is it going to be Oka? Is it going to be Hashimoto? Is it going to be Oka? Is it going to be Hashimoto? And Jungbo Hung is sitting there like, hello, don't forget about me. He has not been fully healthy this year. And so he's been scoring in that 83 range, which is of course competitive, but it's not anywhere near the 85s that Oka and Daiki have been scoring in. So that's something to look for. Again, I wouldn't say his floor looked great, but his high bar looked very good in the videos that we saw. Huang Mingqi fell on both vaults, which is, I don't know if it's indicative of how he's going to do. He is not the most consistent athlete, I would say. I think one of their other vaulters, Chen Long, is actually maybe a little bit more consistent. So we'll see how things go. I would say a lot of athletes struggled with vault. So again, something we're going to keep an eye on. Zhou Jingyuan was pretty shockingly kind of like walking all over the place. He did a routine that included a fall, and I haven't seen a full video of this routine, but part of me wonders if he was trying his 6-3 routine, which he did attempt earlier in the year, and he really struggled with that routine. And then he ended up going back to his 5-9 routine, which he can hit really well, easily score into the 9 E-score range. And so I kind of wonder, like, is he still trying to figure out which routine he's going to do? But he is typically an athlete that we see get up on the podium and podium training, knock out his routine, be perfect. And we see the same thing in qualifications and the same thing in team finals. So it's maybe a little unnerving to see him not perform at his best in podium training. I did not get any videos of the remaining gymnasts, Han Yangming, Lan Qingyu, or Shi Song, so I am unsure how podium training went for them. Moving on to USA, I would say Asher Hong did not look good in basically any video that I saw from him, and this is something I used to really worry, because the same thing happened to him at 2022 Worlds and 2023 Worlds. I remember at 2022 Worlds hearing some of the staff being like, you know, if he doesn't get it together, like, we have Yule as an option. And in 2023 in Belgium, he was going for his Rise Guang, and there were like 3 spotters waiting to catch him on his Rise Guang ball. And I was like, he's going to blow out his ankles. But I have just learned that he's an athlete that needs the pressure to compete really, really well. He never seems to have a very good podium training on this stage, and always turns it on for competition. So that's kind of the pattern that I'm expecting here, is like, okay, he didn't have a great podium training. Who cares? He's probably going to be fine in qualifications. Cam himself also had kind of a rough day on vault, a couple ankle stingers on floor, especially on his triple backs. I am less familiar with Cam's cadence of training versus competition, so we'll see how that sort of pattern evolves for him and if that will be indicative of how he's going to compete. Donnell had a good routine on still rings. One of his handstands was just like a little bit over, so that's something he'll want to improve upon. His triple back on podium was much better than videos I had seen from the training hall. So that's something that will be really, really important for him to just even get into finals, is that dismount is so easy to over rotate. His form on the rings is stunning, just about as good as it gets. But when you have a dismount that's worth 1.8 of your entire routine, and it's really easy to over rotate, that can put an athlete in a difficult place. I would say for Brandon Dang on pommel horse, he looked pretty solid, but he didn't show the E dismount. It was interesting when he went up to do his dismount. It did look like he was almost going to go for the extra pirouette, but then he stopped himself and didn't. So what I'm expecting from that is that we will probably see a 5.9 routine from him in quals, and probably the 6.0 should he make finals. For Brody Malone, he did show the upgrade triple pike dismount on high bar, which I assume he's probably not going to put in until finals, should he make finals. I didn't get any video from Patty Hoops, but Gymnastics Now reported that he fell in podium training. So that's the only report we have on him. Moving forward to Great Britain, Luke Whitehouse is the 3-time reigning European champion on floor and is here at his very first World Championships. Interestingly, he's still opting to do the scale in his routine. He was one that when I was watching him do his floor routine again, I was like, he is just not comfortable with this floor yet. And when he got to his dismount, he only ended up doing a double tuck versus the double that he typically dismounts with. So I'm hoping that was maybe just stamina, jet lag, etc. So we'll see what he does in qualifications. He did give an interview with the FIG and said qualifications is going to be a battle of the Brits. He's talking about specifically on floor. He said, we've got the 3 best gymnasts in the world on floor. Whoever misses out on the final, they deserve to be in the final, but it's just because the team is so strong. You've also got Carlos Yulo, who is absolutely incredible. It's going to be a very good competition. Now, Jake Jarman, one of the teammates he's talking about, who is very good on floor, he said to the FIG, thank you very much for this new rule, and he got rid of the scale ASAP. He sort of like notably made fun of it or talked about his struggles with it on floor exercise. So again, he's adding a new one of the artistic transitions in his routine. And then Harry Hepworth, the third of the 3 floor workers that Luke was talking about, he was, again, one of the few people I felt looked pretty confident on floor. According to the reports in the arena, he didn't vault, which was really surprising to me, as he is in the top 8 easily in the world on that event. So potentially he's dealing with some sort of injury that's preventing him from competing vault. I honestly can't think of any other reason that he wouldn't compete for vault, because he is an Olympic medalist there, and also, again, someone who's top 8 in the world. So that's a little bit disappointing to not see him in that lineup. Of course, if he is injured, we wish him health in that regard. I don't think I personally saw any videos from Courtney Tulloch or Alex Yulshin Cash in podium training, so I'm not really sure how they looked, but Gymcastic did do an interview with Courtney about the dismount rule, and Courtney talked about how he really liked the dismount rule, where you got some extra points here and there, but he understands after recent events why they are changing the element group there and making it 0.5 to bring it in line with the other element groups. So I encourage you to go watch the interviews on Gymcastic's YouTube channel there. Joe looked quite good on high bar from what I saw from the British Gymnastics Instagram feed. And interestingly, like, we all know he's a world champion on pommel horse, on parallel bars, but he has really seemed to come into feeling even more comfortable on high bar. And I kind of wonder if he is going to maybe sneak into that final as well. So that's another area that I'm watching. Okay, the last team I am going to talk about that we got a decent number of videos of is the Canadians. So in our preview, we talked about how we thought maybe Felix Dulce or Will Amard, or maybe both, might make the all-arounders. But I had actually forgotten that they were bringing 2 pommel horse specialists. So this is very similar to how the USA lineup is going to go. There is only room for 1 all-arounder, and from what I've been told, Felix is the one who is going to get the nod for the all-around over Will, and I'm unsure exactly why that is, but Felix will be competing for that all-around title. William Amard, he had some hits and some miss with his triple pike off rings. One of them was a fall. The other one was so excellent. So good. So that was really exciting to see from him. And then according to gymnastics coaching, Sam Zakutny has also added a Lucan on high bar.
Neutral Deductions is your exclusive gymnastics news platform focused entirely on men's gymnastics. To show your support, please subscribe to Neutral Deductions' YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.
Wrapping up this podcast with a couple notes about key individuals. We got the news from Scott Bregman at the Olympic Channel that Carlos Yulo will not be competing the all-around here. He was definitely one of the favorites, especially for bronze, but he said that he has been dealing with some wrist injuries, so he's only going to be focusing on floor and vault here at this competition. On floor, I'm really excited for you all to watch his routine. He is an athlete that I feel is taking advantage of the time to sort of practice and integrate these new upcoming required transitions for the corners. It's not required now to have a different transition at every corner, but it will be starting 2026. And he, in his interview with Gymcastic, was talking about how much he loved playing with these different corner transitions and trying the different choreography and embracing the artistry side. And it was the first time I had heard a male gymnast be really excited about this. And it's an opportunity for them to show their creativity, their passion, their artistry, anything like that. And I am so excited for you to see what he has done, because I found myself more engaged in the routine because of it. I will also say, in his interview with Gymcastic, Carlos said his biggest gymnastics ick was pommel horse, just like pommel horse in general. Several of the guys were like, oh, if someone like spits on their hand and touch the pommel horse, or if a little kid runs underneath me while I'm tumbling. But no, Carlos Yulo was just like, nope, it's straight pommel horse. But he was like, don't worry, I'm still doing pommel horse to try and get on the all-around podium for LA 28, which I thought was really funny. Hamlet Manoukian of Armenia is my pick for pommel horse. I didn't see his podium training, but I did get a video of him that was on Artur Davtyan's story, and it was perfect. Literal perfection. His extension is so good. His hips are so flat. His transition from being in handstand to being lower on the pommel horse, it's so good. It is so good. So definitely look out for him as someone to emulate in the pommel horse realm. 2019 high bar world champ Arthur Nori looked quite good there. Thomas Grasso of Italy on vault. There was a video that came out of his Yurchenko triple, which he landed basically straight up right and almost stuck. Stunning. Oh my goodness. We actually didn't talk about him in the preview, but he is one to watch for finals, as he is in the top 8 in the world right now of those who are competing this coming week. Stunning gymnastics. Bart Dulo of the Netherlands is certainly a fan favorite. I didn't actually get a video of a full set from him. It looked like maybe he was doing first halves and second halves from what I saw. He did say in interviews that he has been having trouble, so we'll see if he's actually able to put a routine together in full. Tong Jia Hong looked spectacular in podium training. He has a Lucan, he has a Wallstrom, he was finishing pirouettes and handstand. I mean, it was a gorgeous routine. And my hope for him is that he can actually perform really well on both days, because he does kind of have a history of getting on the big stage and not being able to put it together. And he really is one of the best, if not the best in the world on high bar. And I'm really hoping that we can see 2 very good routines from him there. Angel Barajas of Colombia, oh my gosh, he has a talk half to Stalder to Lucan on high bar. It's crazy. He is definitely a finals contender for parallel bars and for high bar, so we're going to be watching him. And then just kind of a final note of an athlete that I was not overly familiar with, Unai Bagori of Spain. Some of the prettiest gymnastics that I have seen in a long time. So that is an athlete to watch for if you're just looking for beautiful toe point, form, extension, just very good basics. And I'm excited to watch him compete as well. Now, if you would like to financially support our coverage of this World Championships, please consider donating. A massive thank you to all who have donated so far. This is what allowed us to send a photographer to the World Championships for the very, very, very first time, which we are posting those photos up on Instagram. So make sure you go and see the beautiful work that she is doing. You can donate via PayPal and Stripe. Now, if you do not have liquid funds to donate, there is no problem. One of the best ways that you can help us is to go and subscribe on YouTube and to watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, because we do get, it's a very little bit of money from those views. And that's really, really impactful for us and for sharing the world about, and for sharing the word about neutral deductions. I had someone ask and say, why are you not posting this as quickly on Spotify? And that's why we're going to be posting everything on YouTube first and then following it up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, just because we don't make money from those other platforms. And we're trying to steer people towards YouTube, where we actually are able to get a little bit of ad revenue. Other ways that you can help support men's gymnastics in this podcast, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. I think we're at 79 and counting, which again is so exciting. We started this podcast just about 2 years ago, and it has grown exponentially. If you have any questions for me, if you have comments, if you have insider tips, you can email us at neutraldeductions@gmail.com. That's all for this time. We will see you after qualifications.